You want to know who I was afraid of? Really afraid of? It wasn't about the gimmicks. It was about the real ones. Think about the toughest person you've ever met. Now imagine you're Kavin Nash, 7 feet tall, a backstage power player, a guy who's seen it all. Who makes that guy think twice? Who sends a chill down that spine? He didn't just hint at it. He named them. All 10, one by one. And the reasons why are a masterclass in the hidden reality of professional wrestling. This isn't a tough guy list from the internet. This is a map of the minefields he had to walk through in his career. So before we go through them, hit pause for a second. I'm genuinely curious, based on what you know of that era, who's the first name that pops into your head? When you think of a legitimately feared wrestler, type it in the comments right now. Let's see if you guess right. What we're doing today is a deep, methodical breakdown. We're going through each of Kavin Nash's 10 in order, and unpacking exactly what it was about these men that inspired genuine fear in one of the industry's most powerful figures. This is about context, stories, and the unspoken rules of a world that operated in the shadows. To fully appreciate this list, you have to understand Kavin Nash's journey. His career arc is a tour through wrestling's most unforgiving territories. He wasn't just a big man. He was a smart man who became a political force. He started in the early 90s in WCW, then went to WWF where he became Diesel and part of the influential Clique. But to truly get the first few names, you have to understand his time in Japan. This was the crucible. In places like New Japan Pro Wrestling in the early 90s, the style was strong, which was a polite way of saying it was stiff, hard-hitting, and based on presenting real fighting spirit. Respect wasn't given. It was earned through physical trial. And at the top of that food chain were two men who defined an era. Number 1, Masahiro Chono. When Nash talks about fear, Chono is a prime example of fear as absolute authority. Chono was one of New Japan's 3 musketeers, a cool, charismatic icon who carried an aura of unshakable control. For Nash, a foreigner, gaijin in this system, Chono was more than a top star. He was a gatekeeper. Chono represented the entire rigid hierarchy of Japanese wrestling. To cross him, to show him up, to not follow the strict unwritten code of conduct, meant you could find yourself blackballed. Your matches could become punishing lessons. The fear was of professional exile, of having the door to one of the world's most prestigious and lucrative wrestling scenes slammed shut by a man who held the keys. It was fear of the system, personified in one man with the ice-cold demeanor. Number 2, Shinya Hashimoto. If Chono was the cool, authoritative king, Hashimoto was the fierce, beloved warrior emperor. Another of the 3 musketeers. Hashimoto's connection with the Japanese crowd was volcanic. Dr. Death wasn't just a tough guy with stories. He was a documented amateur wrestling champion from the University of Oklahoma and a superstar in the UWFI in Japan, a promotion that blurred the line into real fighting. His reputation was built on a resume, not rumors. For Nash, fearing Dr. Death was a rational assessment of capability. It was the knowledge that in any legitimate athletic contest or wrestling match, a fight, Steve Williams had the skills to dismantle you. This fear was clean, almost respectful, the fear of a proven master of combat. His fighting spirit was palpable. For Nash, fear of Hashimoto was similar but more visceral. Hashimoto's legitimacy was in every stiff kick, in every defiant scream. In the ring with him, you were participating in something that felt profoundly real. The fear was the fear of not measuring up, of being exposed as not being strong enough in this demanding environment. It was also the fear of the passionate fan base he commanded. Disrespecting Hashimoto wasn't just a locker room issue, it was a cultural offense. Number 3. Big Van Vader. Now we move from the disciplined fear of Japan to the chaotic, primal fear of the monster. Vader's reputation is the stuff of locker room legend. A massive athletic force who played for the Los Angeles Rams. Vader's power was undeniable, but the fear came from the perception that he was a force that could not always be controlled. Stories abound of him being excessively stiff, of his temper flaring, of him legitimately hurting opponents. Wrestlers have described being in the ring with Vader as an exercise in survival psychology. Nash's fear here was straightforward and physical. This was a man who could, and sometimes did, cause real damage. You had to trust him with your physical safety, and that trust felt like a fragile thing. The fear was of the unpredictable explosion. Number 4, Hulk Hogan. This is where the nature of fear makes a sharp turn. Nash's fear of Hogan had zero to do with physical confrontation. Hogan, especially in the 80s and early 90s, was the ecosystem of American wrestling. He was the franchise. He had creative control clauses, direct lines to executives, and an unparalleled understanding of the political landscape. To be on Hogan's bad side was a career-altering condition. Your push stalled. Your ideas were vetoed. You were made to look foolish. For Nash, a politically savvy player himself, this was the most calculated fear of all. The fear of economic and professional obscurity. It was the cold fear of the boardroom, where the weapon wasn't a clothesline, but a phone call to the booker. Number 5 and 6, the Samoan SWAT team, Samu and Fatu the head shrinkers. Nash groups these men together, and for good reason. This fear is rooted in culture, family, and street-level legitimacy. The Inoue family is a wrestling dynasty, but they are also a family with a deep ingrained warrior spirit. Nash has spoken about their genuine no-nonsense toughness. The fear of the Samoan SWAT team wasn't about backstage politics or in-ring style. It was the understanding that if a conflict arose, it would not follow wrestling's scripted rules. It would follow the rules of the street, of family honor, and of a kind of toughness that was born, not performed. It was the fear of a real fight with men for whom fighting was a second language. Number 7, Dr. Death Steve Williams. This name is critical because it represents pure, verified athletic legitimacy. Dr. Death wasn't just a tough guy with stories. He was a documented amateur wrestling champion from the University of Oklahoma and a superstar in the UWFI in Japan, a promotion that blurred the line into real fighting. His reputation was built on a resume, not rumors. For Nash, fearing Dr. Death was a rational assessment of capability. It was the knowledge that in any legitimate athletic contest or wrestling match, a fight, Steve Williams had the skills to dismantle you. This fear was clean, almost respectful, the fear of a proven master of combat. Number 8, Ken Shamrock. Shamrock brought the fear of the new world into the old. As the world's most dangerous man, his credentials were fresh from the UFC. He was one of the first true mixed martial artists to cross over. His intensity wasn't a character act. It was a byproduct of his training and mindset. The fear of Shamrock was the fear of the switch. He lived in a world where the transition from a worked hold to a legitimate, fight-ending submission was a matter of instinct. Nash has mentioned the palpable tension Shamrock brought. You didn't know if he was fully in work mode or fight mode. It was the fear of the modern gladiator, whose rage was real and whose skills were deadly practical. Number 9, Harley Race. This is the fear of history, of legacy, of the old guard. Harley Race was a throwback to a meaner, tougher era of the territories, a time when wrestlers were hard men, who traveled from town to town, fighting for respect and money. By the time Nash was coming up, Race was a living legend, an elder statesman with a presence that commanded absolute respect. The fear of Harley Race was laced with reverence. It was the fear of disappointing a king, of not living up to the standards of a generation that built the business with their bare knuckles. It was the fear of the man who had seen and done it all, and whose judgment carried the weight of history. Number 10, The Undertaker. Now this one is fascinating and often the most surprising to people. Nash has explicitly mentioned fearing The Undertaker. But why? The Undertaker isn't known as a backstage bully or a shoot fighter. The fear of The Undertaker was multifaceted. First, it was his immense, unshakable locker room respect. By the mid-90s, Taker was the conscience of the WWF locker room, the enforcer of its codes. Crossing him meant alienating the most respected man in the company. Second, it was his sheer physical presence and dedication. In the ring, he was relentless, powerful, and capable of incredible violence. But third, and perhaps most importantly, it was the fear of his political weight and his unwavering principles. The Undertaker's opinion mattered profoundly to Vince McMahon. To be on his wrong side was to risk your standing in the company's most inner circle. This fear was a blend of respect for his power, his position, and his intimidating in-ring aura. So why does this detailed list matter? What does it teach us? This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. It's a blueprint of the invisible forces that shaped the wrestling we watched. This hidden layer of fear, physical, political, cultural, directly influenced storylines, matches, and careers. It decided who got protected, who got pushed, and who had to tread lightly. The culture of fear acted as a brutal form of quality control and social order, but it also had a dark, oppressive side that could stifle talent and enable abuse. The legacy of this list is that it marks the end of an era. The modern wrestling world is different. The fears have evolved. Today's wrestlers likely fear social media backlash, sudden releases, or the court of public opinion more than a locker room confrontation. The physical, legitimate danger has been largely professionalized out of the business, replaced by a different, more corporate kind of pressure. But Nash's list immortalizes a time when the business had a shadowy, real-world stakes. It reminds us that these were not just characters, but people navigating a dangerous profession with its own unique perils. It adds a layer of gravity and respect to their performances, knowing what they were negotiating off camera. When a giant like Kavin Nash lists the 10 who made him wary, it humanizes the spectacle. It reveals that even the most powerful had their checkpoints, their moments of caution. The ring was a stage, but the world around it was very, very real. Here's my final question for you. Looking at this complete list, which one of these 10 do you think commanded the most complex kind of fear? Was it the political fear of Hogan, the legitimate fear of Dr. Death, or the respectful fear of The Undertaker? Let's debate it in the comments. If this deep dive into the real stories behind the legends gave you a new perspective, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps support this channel. And if you want more content that pulls back the curtain on entertainment history, subscribe and turn on notifications. There's always more story to tell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.